Hello, this is Virtual the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. This is part 5 of the Venomous Vienna series of videos, and I have another game that shows the power of the Vienna Gambit at the beginner intermediate level. The Vienna Gambit is my favourite opening when playing with the white pieces. For the opponent responding with the black pieces, one misstep can result in a devastating disadvantage, as was the case in this game. As per the subtitle of this video, pay attention to the f-pawn. Perhaps it's just me, but I like to imagine a narrative around the game, and the f-pawn has a remarkable career in this match. Please enjoy! Let's start off with the review. So chess.com's algorithm, I played okay, 84%. Opponent played probably a little bit less accurately. So this is a mate that I sort of made after one of the tournaments, the Australia Day tournament. So invited me to this match, which was great. Played not too badly, but I probably had more best moves here. I am more familiar, I suspect, with the Vienna game than my opponent. Equal until it wasn't, and then sort of a commanding lead afterwards. Let's now look at the analysis. All right, so let's go. E4, E5, knight C3, knight F6, and the beginning of the Vienna Gambit, which is F4. So black should not take the gambit. That is automatically bad. And my opponent plays D6. So D6 is the second best response to declining the Vienna Gambit. The best response is to immediately play a D5, so immediately fighting for the center. Now, for white to not move immediately back to equality, there is only one move, which is knight F3, which I played. My opponent then developed their other knight. Now, the best move after here is d4, and that is in fact the logic of playing knight f3, immediately allowing for d4, and this potentially forces an issue, forces a clarification of what's going to happen. Now, in this game, I chose not to play d4 at this point. In fact, I decided to straight up capture first. And so now there's a threat here, and the reality is that that's actually okay for black. So black should capture back with their d6 pawn, and now I would sort of potentially be able to play d4 at that point. So because captures, they can't capture back because the queen is there. However, my opponent perhaps of remembering that maybe d5 was the best response, the best way to decline the Vienna Gambit, played at d5 now. So played d6 and then d5, and perhaps missed the point that this pawn actually forks the pawn and knight. And here I sort of looked for a while. I thought, there's no reason why I shouldn't capture, and so captured. And as you can see, plus 5.5. So pretty much this one blunder meant that the game was pretty much over. Now, this pawn by sort of move 6 is already all the way onto the sixth rank, facing off. It's looking pretty bad. It's looking pretty bad for black. They push now, so I suppose keep advancing the d pawn, and I suppose that's not a terrible move. I probably could have just straight up captured. Here, moved my knight out of the way. So knight d5. Opponent played knight b4, and as per sort of stockfish here, so really recommended sort of developing pieces, potentially pinning that knight to the queen. This move is not particularly good because certainly at this point, all I could do, I could just straight up capture that and be happy for some of these trades. However, I decided to play, I don't know, probably a little bit adventurously here. So of course, opponent could en passant that, but they didn't. At this point, they captured, and now, because the bishop has moved out of the way, pawn captures. So now there's only one move available for the opponent, is to move rook to that square. Basically, I've damaged the king side defense, and if I can defend that pawn, this rook will forever be stuck doing guard duty to prevent promotion. So attack the bishop. Here I thought about doing this, but I was a little bit concerned that I was overextending my pawns. However, Stockfish is unafraid. So Stockfish thought that that was potentially the best move. So I thought I'd move here first so that I could potentially pop that afterwards. But no, opponent moves out of the way. And now here I do need to be careful. I do need to be careful because if you look here, there's the bishop pair and the queen are all staring down the king side. This rook could easily be staring down here as well. So, me castling into that is probably not the right move. But I've sort of damaged some of the defenses on this side as well. So my king is kind of a little bit stuck in the center. And this is one of the disadvantages when you sort of play so aggressively sometimes. Opponent plays b6. Here I move queen to d2. And the Stockfish reckoned, maybe having a direct attack on the queen. I can, but they'll just block. Yeah, so I wasn't so keen on that. And my logic here is if I can pop the queen here, that's very, very powerful because I can take, and then opponent is forced to give something up basically. There we go. Best move. Opponent gives a check. Now here I thought about blocking, but I didn't exactly like where that might go because potentially I saw some checks here and I just didn't really want to face this. I thought it was probably okay, but then I completely removed the defenses around on this side. I thought there might be a position where I end up losing a rook. So instead, what I thought was I'm going to place my king in a place where things aren't going to get pinned. So, if I put that there, that's going to get pinned, and that stops that bishop from defending that queen. So I thought I would put my king somewhere where I'm not going to pin anything, and also where it's not going to be subject to another check. So I decided to move that there. Obviously queen could go here, but they're not going to do that, are they? So here, interestingly enough, the opponent moved their king out of the way, which was fine. So I suppose that potentially might stop some of this, given that the queen now supports the rook. But that also means that the queen is sort of stuck in that square if it wants to keep doing that duty. Here, now I, however, had a check. King now forced to move away. I thought this was probably good, and sort of the king will be forced into that square, but I wasn't entirely sure, I think, what next after that move. So I decided to take with the knight. So yep, queen was better, but knight is still pretty good. Plus 13, basically completely winning. So that wasn't check, sorry, but that's a threat onto the queen. Queen now forced to move out of the way. Now can capture that bishop. So now get rid of one of their sort of attacking pieces. Opponent sort of moves the sort of queen to a4, I suppose, with a potential attack there. Again, I didn't think that was very good, given that I didn't really need to do anything about the knight right away because the bishop and the queen could probably create some checks. So bishop f4 with check, king forced to move back. Now queen d6 with check, blocked with bishop, which was what I thought was going to happen. And now I'm going to force the opponent to sacrifice their rook. So basically trading a pawn for the rook, and that pawn survived all the way. So went here, and here, captured their way to promotion. Yep. So that's a forced move, and now bringing the knight back with another check. And pretty much, the game is lost. So one whether I can sort of end up picking the other pieces, or I can just force checks, or I can force a queen trade. And my opponent here opted to resign. And this danger, this venom with the Vienna, if you make one sort of off move for the opponent. It's one of the reasons why I really like the opening, and it's aggressive, can often lead to some open lines. Good game. GG. After the opponent declined the Vienna Gambit with d6, I knew that using the Gambit pawn on f4 to capture the opponent's pawn on e5 was not the most optimal move. However, this was a gamble, as I was creating extra threats. In essence, the threat of the Vienna Gambit is that effectively, if you refuse the Gambit pawn, I'll force the issue by capturing your pawn and thus taking control of the center. In essence, this trade is unavoidable for black and actually isn't bad for them. However, my opponent's focus on protecting their e-pawn missed the fact that their knight was also being attacked. In the end, the f-pawn was the MVP of this game, surviving a series of aggressive and ostensibly sacrificial maneuvers and eventually promoted to queen. With risk comes opportunity. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.